Welcome, Senator. Step up. Step on up. You're in.
Thank you very much.
Ready for me, Mr. Vice Chair?
I am.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to present as a part of the special order package of bills, Senate Bill 238, psychotropic drugs for foster children. This committee is well versed, having had an informational hearing and further follow-up today in terms of the issues and the challenges that we are faced as legislators who ultimately have a responsibility for the care of children in foster care. So I'll go directly, if I may, Mr. Vice Chair, into what this bill actually does. Senate Bill 238 does the following. Number one, it calls for the development of the California Department of Social Services and Department of Healthcare Services of monthly data reports matching prescription and claims data with Child Welfare Services records that shall be shared with counties, the courts, children's attorneys, and court-appointed advocates for children. Secondly, it requires the development of a system that triggers an alert to the practitioners receiving the data reports when potentially dangerous interactions could occur with other prescribed medications or psychotropic medications have been prescribed or prescribed in dosages that are unusual for a child of a particular age or size. It updates the prescribed court form, JV 220, you've heard mentioned earlier today, to provide opportunities for key stakeholders, including the child for whom medication is being prescribed, to provide information and feedback, to provide details on the overall mental health treatment plan for the child. Finally, it mandates training for physicians, child welfare social workers, foster children, caregivers, attorneys, and court-appointed advocates for children regarding psychotropic medications. Today with me is really my partner on this issue, Frank Mecca, representing the County Welfare Directors Association, to really talk about how social workers and other members and his members in the departments across the state, their hands are really tied in terms of trying to make sure that the children in their care are provided with appropriate mental health behavioral services.
Mr. Mecca, in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, we do have a foster youth that would like to say a few words on behalf of Senator Mitchell's bill as well.
By all means, please proceed. And thanks for coming.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is D'Angelo Cortillo. I am 21 years old. Today, I would like to share my experience, a story that is a sad reality for thousands of youth right now. I entered my first foster home when I was about 10 years old. Prior to me entering this home, I experienced severe abuse and acted out tremendously. Needless to say, when I entered the foster care system, I was a lot to deal with. I had trust, anger, and love issues and needed stability, love, and discipline. What I got instead was more pain, hurt, and confusion. While in this system, I was treated by over 5 psychiatrists. Each one of them had a different opinion about what was wrong with me. Some said that I was fine. Some said that in time I would simply mature, while others said medicate him. When I moved to different homes, some care providers did not know that I was even prescribed medication. There was no system in place to keep the care providers updated or even informed of my mental health status. I believe that it is imperative for the safety of children in foster care that all of these professionals have access to the same up-to-date information on the children in their care. I am fortunate to have avoided lasting side effects from psychotropic medication because I quickly refused to continue taking each new medication. I knew of the potential dangers of these powerful drugs because my mother is living with permanent dependency and physical damage from having been placed on psychotropic drugs when she was in foster care. The most important thing is to give us a voice in this process. Of all the treatments I've received, the most effective for me was equine-assisted therapy. Working with horses and living in a safe and clean environment did more for me than any drug ever could. There needs to be a place in this process to ensure that youth receive therapy other than drugs and that they have an opportunity to share what is working and what isn't. Today, I am a student at Chabot College in Hayward and an intern at the National Center for Youth Law. I aspire to attend law school and become an attorney. This would not be true if I would have taken all of the drugs that were prescribed for me. SB 238 will allow for people like me and countless others a chance to come out of the system unharmed by the unnecessary use of these psychotropic drugs. Thank you for your time, and please support us with SB 238.
Thank you for your time. Mr. Mecca, will you have a few comments also?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Frank Meck on behalf of the County Welfare Directors, who are proud sponsors of the bill. Stories like the ones that you've heard today are very difficult for us to hear. Our members are effectively and by law the parents of foster kids. When we remove a child from their home, we assume as a state and counties an awesome responsibility. And in this sense, we sort of have co-parents in that we've got judges and attorneys and caregivers who all, along with us, are responsible for overseeing the well-being of kids in our care. SB 238 is absolutely critical for us to give us the tools and information that we need to act as parents, the same way you would act if one of your children required serious mental illness treatment. Clearly, many of the kids in our care have suffered such trauma that trauma-informed treatment is necessary, and sometimes psychotropic medication is called for, but only when it's thoughtfully and intentionally prescribed and as part of an overall care plan. And I think that's what this bill is about, ensuring that we all have the information to make sure that prescriptions are appropriate, that children are doing well and thriving on them, and that it's part of an overall treatment plan that addresses the core sort of root of the children's trauma. As the author indicated, I won't go into detail, but it gives us information about what prescriptions people are actually filling at the pharmacy. We don't know that now. That's information that will be matched from the Medi-Cal system. It will tell us what other Medi-Cal funded mental health treatments are also being requested and funded from the Medi-Cal system. And it will allow us to match that information with the kids that we have in our care, so we know what drugs kids are taking. We know non-psychotropic medication that kids are taking, and we know the rest of their treatment plan. That's critical information. We also need an expert-developed alert system. We're not medical practitioners. We are not trying to be medical practitioners, but as prudent parents, we need to know when there's a potentially dangerous interaction of drugs, when there's an unusually high or potentially dangerous dosage. The same information you would be asking of caregivers for the children in your care.
Right.
All of us practitioners need better training. This is complicated, difficult stuff. Mr. Bell's bill that would bring public health nurses greater to bear would be helpful. But all of us, judges, social workers, court-appointed special advocates, caregivers, we need better training in trauma, treatment options, and the effects of psychotropic medication. And we also need a more robust system where all of this information comes before a juvenile court, and where people who currently don't have a really effective way to get their voice heard, children, caregivers, other people, can all present a really full picture of what's happening in a child's life. So the judges, the final arbiters of which children are allowed to receive psychotropic medications, can make the best decisions possible. So I'd just like to thank this committee for all of the time that it's spent, and the author, and just urge your support.
Great. Is there anybody else in support out there?
Good afternoon, Kevin Aslan, Coalition California Welfare Rights Organizations. Strong support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Gibbons with the California State Association of Counties, in strong support as well.
National Center for Youth Law, strong support. Thank you.
Kathy Dressler, the Children's Partnership, in strong support.
Dave Nielsen, California Alliance of Child and Family Services, strong support.
Hi, my name's Daniel Berg. I'm an ally for Youth Services. When I was 7 years old, I was heavily medicated from 7 to the age of 14. I know what it feels like to be wrongly medicated. I support all 4 bills to stop over-medication of foster youth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rebecca Gonzalez, National Association of Social Workers, California Chapter. support.
Christopher Castrillo on behalf of the California Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. We don't have a formal position on the bill at this time. We do want to note that as part of the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, our national partner has noted that as part of their ideal standards and their optimal guidelines will state that establishing training requirements for child welfare workers, court personnel, and foster parents to promote more effective advocacy for youth in their custody regarding behavioral care, psychiatric medication monitoring as part of those guidelines. So we do appreciate the direction in which CWDA and Senator Mitchell have taken this bill. So thank you.
Thank you for coming up.
Dante Williams, lead youth advocate with Stanford Youth Solutions. I like to say I think it's absolutely imperative that we put these measures in place to protect our children in care. So in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, Kyle Sporlier with the California Youth Connection. We're in strong support of this bill. We are also in strong support of the entire bill package consisting of the 4 measures you heard today. This is and has been a top priority of CYC's for several years. And we were heartened to hear the chair mention earlier and have some recognition that even with these great bills before you, these are initial steps to deal with a broader and more entrenched problem that we've seen. And I have 2 of our members here today who are former foster youth, 1 member from our Santa Clara chapter and our president of our Sacramento chapter to share with you the impact they see of the misuse or overuse of psychotropic medication.
Hi, my name is Mariah Corder. I'm 15 years old and I'm from California Youth Connection. When I was 9 years old, I had to testify against my father for the murder of my little brother. I was living in my first level 14 group home. I was prescribed countless psychotropic medications for so many diagnoses I didn't even have. I was acting out, which was my way of dealing with this trauma. They told me, take this, it will make you feel better. They handed me drugs to help with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, ADHD, depression, all things I didn't have. I still have side effects from the over 20 different antipsychotics I took daily and have to deal with them every minute of every day. Help us prevent thousands more foster youth from having this horrific experience. I support this bill and all of the rest. Thank you.
Thanks for coming up, and briefly, your support.
Oh yeah, hi, Mahogany Graves. I'm also with the California State Ombudsman's Office, Foster Care Ombudsman's Office, and I'm definitely in support. Help the children.
Thank you.
Brenda Dabney, the Children's Law Center, in strong support.
Matt Gallagher, Youth Advocate for Mental Health America of Northern California. And if I could, I would just like to give a strong gratitude for all the youth that testified today. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to come up here and do what they did today. And so for them, hats off to you guys. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Judy Darnell with the United Ways of California. We have not yet taken a position on this, but we do have a very strong support for foster youth across the state. As a former foster parent, I'm also standing up here in strong support of this bill. I had a 16, 17-year-old foster son who went through a series of psychotropic medications, and it really harmed him in a lot of ways. So I strongly support for your support.
Thank you. Is there anybody out there in opposition? If not, I'm certainly going to be supporting this bill today, and I too want to thank you for coming. You're very well spoken. And animal therapy is a good thing. So with that, the bill has been moved. Please call the roll.
SB 238, the motion is due pass to Judiciary Committee. McGuire? Berryhill?
Aye.
Berryhill, aye. Hancock? Liu? Nguyen? Nguyen, aye.
Okay, you got 2 votes. We'll keep the roll open. Thank you for presenting the bill.
I appreciate that, and since you didn't let me close, Senator, I'm going to count on you to get me those other votes when they come back.
Okay. I'll take it upon myself.
I'm going to count on you to whip the votes for me, Senator.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Senator Pan's here.
Huh?
Senator Pan's here.
Oh, Senator Pan?
File item 6.
File item 6.
Thank you and good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. California state law from the previous century required a face-to-face interview. Notwithstanding the 21st century tools available to do interviews telephonically, video, or electronically, that is more efficient for our personal assistance programs. SB 312
Senator, hang up just for a minute. Wait till the room clears so we can hear you a little better. Okay, please proceed.
All right. Thank you again, Senator Chair and members. Maybe I'll start from the top again. Well, California state law from the previous century requires a face-to-face interview for public assistance programs, notwithstanding their 21st century tools available to do interviews either telephonically, by video, or electronically that's more efficient. SB 312 addresses this time warp because there is a better way. For the past 5 years, California has been conducting telephone interviews for the CalFresh program. This effort started when California was in deep recession and the CalFresh caseload ballooned without administrative resources to process applications the old-fashioned way, through face-to-face interviews. Today, all counties offer the applicant the choice of an in-person, face-to-face interview or a telephone interview. Some counties have even adopted telephonic signature to make the process more efficient. This bill would give the county the option to do telephone interviews just like they do for CalFresh. Today, I have with me Kevin Naslan with the Coalition of California Welfare Rights Organizations Incorporated to help answer any questions members may have. I respectfully ask for support. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay. And Frank Baker from the social workers.
Okay, yeah, witnesses in support.
Like Coalition of California Welfare Rights Organizations, we support this bill because, and we ask them to do this bill because I had a couple of people who came to me and they lost their jobs. They were working because they had to take a couple of days off to go down to the welfare department and go through the welfare system to get their cash aid. Had they only applied for food stamps, they would have still been working. And that's why we want this bill to make sure that we use the 21st century tools to accomplish 21st century action.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Frank Mecca with the County Welfare Directors Association. We support this is efficient. It's optional for counties, and it preserves program integrity by allowing us to require a face-to-face in any circumstance that we believe is warranted, but it also gives us the option to do a telephone interview, and as the author of the bill said, that's current technology, and it works well in the CalFresh program, and we'd urge your support.
Thank you, and before the next, everybody else in support, have you accepted the amendments? Senator?
Yes, we have accepted the committee amendments, correct.
Great, okay, do we have additional people in support?
Yes, Senator. Mike Carroll with the Western Center on Law and Poverty. We're in support of the bill also.
Rebecca Gonzalez, National Association of Social Workers, California chapter, in support.
Judy Darnell with the United Ways of California. On behalf of the 34 local United Ways across the state, we strongly support this bill.
Andrew Shane from the California Association of Food Banks on behalf of the 42 food banks we represent in strong support.
That's great. Is there anybody in opposition of this bill? If not, there's really only me, I guess, Senator. My only concern with this bill is the face-to-face. And Frank, were you saying that this is an option, or how does it work?
Well, under the bill, it's at the county option, and the way the CalFresh option works is, it's first of all, the client's option too. Some clients would prefer face-to-face, but if a county exercises the option and a client does as well, we can do an interview by phone. If for any reason the county believes that there might be some program integrity issues, we would reserve the right to require a face-to-face. That's how the CalFresh system works. But it gives us a tool for people that, you know, who need to stay working or don't need to make a trip to clog up our busy offices. But we preserve the ability to ensure program integrity with the option.
Okay, thank you. Since there's nobody else here, would you like to close?
I respectfully ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Okay, Secretary, please call the roll.
SB 312, do pass, excuse me?
Oh, well, wait, yeah, we need a motion, I guess, to do this whole thing.
Hold off until we can get a motion.
Yeah, maybe we'll hold off on your bill until we have somebody to give you a motion.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
You have another author out there?
Oh, well, what? Senator.
Oh, Carol Lou? Carol?
Would you like?
Would you like to move Dr. Pan's bill? Okay, the bill has been moved. Please call the roll.
SB 312, the motion is due pass as amended to the Appropriations Committee. McGuire? Berryhill? Hancock? Liu? Lou, aye. Wen? And
Okay, you've got a vote. We will keep it open till the other members make it back.
Thank you again.
Best
Thank
of
you.
luck.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Senator. Thank
Senator. Senator, you're up. Proceed.
Yes, we have.
Okay.
File item
You got file item 8, or where do you want to start?
SB 521.
That's it.
Senator Berryhill, I understand that Senator Leno's outside, and he has a priority to.
Would you like to defer?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
It's file item 11.
File item 11, Senator Leno. Busy day.
Busy day. Thank you for being conveniently across the hall from Judiciary. Mr. Chair, committee members, please just introduce SB 731, and very simply will require that child welfare workers and caregivers consider a child's gender identity when making decisions about foster care placement for that child. We know that transgender youth face rejection and bullying and physical abuse at the hands of their families and communities and schools. They've got a rough road ahead of them. And not only that, they're at extremely high risk for homelessness and abuse, depression, and even suicide. And you can imagine the additional trauma they experience when they're placed in the child welfare system, which is there supposedly to protect them. Though California law intends to protect all children from discrimination, and that's through the Foster Care Bill of Rights, it does not give specific guidance to caregivers when placing foster children who are transgender. So child welfare workers need guidance. This bill will give it to them on how to place children based on their gender identity. The bill accomplishes this by giving foster children their right to be placed according to gender identity and directing community care licensing to develop regulations to implement this right. The bill will ensure that caregivers provide appropriate supportive care, including respecting and affirming every child's gender identity. So I would ask for your aye vote.
Great. Do we have some witnesses
Yes,
in
we do.
support? Please proceed.
Yes.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
We can now.
Okay. My name's Kevin West. No longer a youth. I'm going to be 30 this year, but I was a foster youth, and I'm transgender, as it says on my shirt. I came out at age 15, and this was back in 2001, but back then I had a social worker who was really supportive. So unlike all the other stories we heard earlier from foster youth, where it, for lack of a better word, sucked, I had a really great experience. I had a social worker and caregivers who really respected and affirmed my gender identity. It was never seen as a phase or a symptom of something else. I was allowed to live with other male youth, even though I was biologically female. And I was never allowed to be bullied. Like the staff and the foster parents, all I had, shut it down when other kids were messing with me. And I would really like this to be experienced that all transgender foster youth have, all foster youth have, really. I was just like any other kid. I was just a young teenage boy, not living with my family, and that's the way I was treated. And that'd be great if other youth had that experience too.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support?
What do I say?
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Josh Leonard. I'm currently the Executive Director of East Bay Agency for Children, an Alameda County-based nonprofit providing mental health, education, and social service supports to over 21,000 children and family members on an annual basis. However, my strong support for SB 731 is rooted in my 20 years of experience as a counselor, supervisor, and executive director in organizations providing residentially based services to foster youth. While working at Bay Area Youth Centers in Hayward, California, we began housing youth based upon their identified gender in the early 90s. At the time, we developed a reputation for successfully stabilizing and graduating to positive outcomes LGBTQ-identified youth with histories of multiple placements. For many, if not all, of the transgender and gender nonconforming youth that we refer to our program, conflict with caregivers about issues of gender identity and expression had played a significant role in previous placement failures. In our work with these youth, we found much higher rates of AWOLing. Sometimes this AWOLing was to escape rejection and harassment. Often this AWOLing was to street life in search of an affirming and non-judgmental community. Making the decision to house youth based upon gender identity felt for us to be the right thing to do, but it also made us much more effective in our work. This organizational policy made an important first impression on transgender and gender nonconforming youth when they came into our programs. It suggested to them the possibility that the staff may be able to see them for who they really were and could be considered as possible resources for support. For some of the youth, that meant being resources to explore issues of gender identity and how to navigate related challenges with others in their lives. For many others, it meant being able to focus on the many other challenges they were confronting as foster youth on the brink of emancipation. At the time, we were not really aware how alone we were amongst other residential providers in taking this approach. Though we believed our actions were not inconsistent with any statute or regulation governing our programs, over the years it became increasingly clear to us that while there were placement agency and community care licensing staff, as well as other providers that had similar perspectives, there was widespread confusion about what was allowable and concern about the consequences of housing youth differently than the historic norms. SB 731 provides much needed clarity on this issue. I'm excited that passage of this bill would direct and enable child welfare workers to ensure well-matched placements and will allow quality providers to organize their services in an appropriate and supportive manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional folks in support?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Frank Mecca with the County Welfare Directors Association. We are in very strong support. The least we can do for foster youth, transgender foster youth, is not do more harm. And if you make a placement with a provider or a family that doesn't allow a youth to affirm their identity, we know from research and we know from the experiences that we do more harm. And we should never be about that. We very much support the bill. It clarifies that which is confusing perhaps under current law and affirms really good practice, which is to allow transgender people to express their identity consistent with their gender identity. So we're very appreciative of the author and ask for your support.
Jackie Ruthizer with the California Alliance of Child and Family Services, and we represent 120 nationally accredited private providers, nonprofit, including probably 33% of all youth placed in foster care are placed with our agencies. And we strongly support this bill for all the reasons mentioned, and also because of all the bills that are going on, this bill probably has a great deal of impact and not a great deal of cost. Thank you.
Rebecca Gonzalez, National Association of Social Workers, California Chapter, in strong support.
Kyle Sporleader with the California Youth Connection. We failed to get a letter in on time, but we are definitely in strong support of this measure. Our foster youth members often talk about this feeling of foster youth being voiceless. They also think that that feeling of voicelessness is only compounded when the system or those in the system fail to recognize a vital aspect of youth's identity. And so we're in strong support of this bill and ask your support. Thank you.
Becca Kramer, ACLU of California, also in strong support. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have?
Sorry.
Oh, is there one more? Oh, by all means.
Apologies, Mr. Chair and members. Joe Michael for Equality California. We are proud to co-sponsor this bill with the National Center for Lesbian Rights and Transgender Law Center. We thank the author for his continued leadership and urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional in support? Is there anybody out there in opposition? Are there any questions of the committee? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We hours ago. You know, I've got just kind of one comment at this thing, because it is a well-intentioned bill. I get it. But for the life of me, the implementation of this bill, if it is turned into law, I don't know how we get there. If you could, in your close, if you could give me some of those reasons how we are going to implement this thing, because I don't know how you do it. So,
Well, as you've already heard, it's in a sense implemented without the clarity of law currently. So Kevin's already spoken of his experience. We heard from Josh Leonard at the East Bay Agency for Children. He explained how they're doing it, but that it would be helpful to have clarity in law, that those who do consider placement for transgender youth to consider the gender identity. Well, actually, we consider the gender identity of all youth. We want to include transgender youth in their gender identity. So if you have more specific question, I'm happy to answer. I don't know that I need to get into too much detail other than, go right ahead.
what about a group home setting? When you have a whole bunch of kids, what do you do then?
Well, I'll let Kevin follow up on my comments, and he's got more experience than I.
Please.
I got all kinds of experience. I was in an all-girls group home when I came out at 15, and my social worker asked if I wanted to leave. And at that time, I was the senior resident, so I had all the privileges, so I didn't want to go anywhere. And then I realized I was living with 9 girls, and I wanted to get out. So I was able to leave and live in an all-boys home. And that's just how you do it. I was transgender male, living with girls, and wasn't a fit, so they put me with boys. The end.
Okay, thank you. With that, Secretary,
Senator Berryhill, if I could just follow up on Kevin.
Oh, yeah, by all means.
I think Kevin said it all. It happens. And with regard to youth, when we know from experience, when they encounter something new and different, it's new and different at first, and then they adjust. Kevin's living example of that. And with regard to privacy issues, we already guarantee privacy for all youth. So those kinds of issues don't come into this either. But it's actually not only distressing and challenging for someone to be living in a group home, a group setting with those with whom he or she does not share a gender identity, it can also be very dangerous. So we want to protect youth who are clearly identifying one gender or the other to make sure that they are in a setting which is consistent with their gender identity. And we have living proof that it works. And there is no opposition to the bill.
Frank, did you want to have my mom, all theirs?
20 years ago, we talked about a similar issue about whether or not we should require the placement of gay and lesbian foster youth with families that accepted who they were. And the concern about would we have appropriate placements and how would the system react, they were legitimate concerns. And what we found was the system does it. We can find families that allow youth to be who they are. And we can train social workers to ask the right questions and be sensitive. And so where we administer what I would argue is probably one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult public systems in all of government. And we're here to tell you that we can make this work.
Okay, with that, is that your close?
It's all been said.
I may be more confused now than I was, but Secretary, please call the roll.
SB 731, the motion is due pass to Judiciary Committee. McGuire? Berryhill? Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. Liu? Liu, aye. Nguyen? It's 2.
Okay, we have 2 votes. We will hold that roll open.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. Appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for coming up today, Kevin.